Hi, my dear Astro family. So today I will be breaking down the solar eclipse for the 12 signs. Now, I usually do these type of videos for my YouTube membership program, but I decided again to do this because this is a major solar eclipse. This is a total solar eclipse to start with. Secondly, it's a little bit more on the difficult side, in my opinion. So if you want to see the full picture, I recommend listening to the video, the general forecast I made about it, and then listen back to your sun sign or to your rising sign as well. So in this case, I recommend listening to two forecasts. One is your sun sign and the other one is your ascendant. The reason being is because this is a total solar eclipse. So the solar eclipses are connected to your life purpose. And it is going to be asking you to tap into your leadership position very strongly. So I would be listening to your sun sign as well. So let's get started. Oh, and by the way, if you would like to get very similar videos that you might want to be considering joining my YouTube membership program, and then you will be receiving 10 additional videos a month where I break down the aspect of the week for you. You're going to get weekly forecasts. I'm going to be preparing them for the 12 signs as well, certain constellations, so I can guide your life through astrology. And with the help of the stars, hopefully you will be able to live a better life. So what to expect if you have got an Aries rising sign? First of all, this is going to be very important for you because it's going to be happening in your first house. This solar eclipse is happening in the sign of Aries. So if you have got that, then surely you will be affected very significantly. And the first house is connected to you, your identity. How do you want to present yourself to the world? What is your approach to life? What is your outlook on life? You're going to have to ask yourself these questions. But in order for you to move forward, you're going to have to go through an element of a healing as well. Remember, this solar eclipse has got a conjunction to Chiron, which is something to do with your wounds, your past actions, and it might remind you that your past actions has got consequences as well. Now, the sun rules your fifth house, which is about your children, your creativity, and self-expression. So the most important meaning of this solar eclipse is that you're going to have to embrace your unique self, be creative about yourself, take risk on yourself, take a chance on yourself, go for something that you haven't tried before. Now, the moon rules your fourth house, which is very much about the family environment. So probably this is asking you to work through some of your family obstacles. Maybe you think that you are unable to be unapologetically yourself because you've got kids or you have got responsibilities, you have got dues to pay. But at the same time, there is that very strong desire as well that you would like to achieve something. Maybe it's about working a little bit or having a stronger foundation in your life. This is the fourth house is basically so much to do with your inner identity. And often we don't let that out because we are afraid we are going to get rejected. And that's exactly what Chiron is talking to us about. There are going to be people who will not tolerate the new you, but there are going to be people who will love you for that. So if there are people or situations that are holding you back or down from achieving what you want, then this solar eclipse might be asking you to cut these people out of your life. Now, because the sun rules the fifth house, which is connected also to fun and hobbies, so this could talk to you about doing things that you truly enjoy. Focus a little bit more on pleasure. It's about being entitled to do fun things in your life as well. But it comes with an element of a healing. Slowly but surely, you can get there. It's about embracing and being happy about who you have become, a little bit of a celebration of your own achievement as well. And sometimes we have to celebrate the small things, and the bigger things going to come around. It is asking you to be a little bit more optimistic about your goals. It is telling you that, you know what, it is okay to say that this is me, whether you take it or you leave it. It is possible that, for example, a relationship has not been working for you, for a while, and maybe you haven't been in a relationship for a while, and because the sun rules your fifth house, it is asking you to start going on a date. I feel like the North Node has been going through your first house for a year now, at least. And it has been trying to build your confidence. It has been trying to tap into your own personal power. So, what stage are you at with this? Have you done it yet? Are you working on it? And then how are you going to move forward? And this is exactly what this solar eclipse is highlighting for you. This is a new moon solar eclipse. So we can be planting the seeds and then we can get going. Now you have got the dispositor Mars, which is about to run into Saturn. I also made a separate video about this, and I will be breaking it down for the 12 signs also next week. So if you are curious about how it might be playing out, then please consider joining my YouTube membership program. But this Saturn-Mars conjunction is going to be taking place in your 12th house, which is about confliction, inner conflictions, as well as tapping into your own fears and transforming your fears into your own strength. It connects with having it can even connect, for example, wanting to get pregnant, but maybe you are afraid that you will lose the self, you will lose your identity, or you will lose your freedom. It is telling you to show up for yourself. It is telling you to conquer your fears, because all you need to do is just to become a long distance runner and go for your dreams. The 12th house is connected to dreams at the end of the day. Probably it is asking you to step outside of your comfort zone, but also a reminder that if you don't take risks, it's never going to come with any type of winning. So yes, maybe that Chiron is an indication that you are afraid of being rejected, or you're going to become a failure, and that is holding you back. And this might be also a reminder that losing is the new winning. Sometimes we lose because there is a better opportunity out there, and then be a little bit more optimistic about it. So this eclipse is all about self-empowerment, looking at what undermines you. It is about tapping into your natural leadership style. It is about being behind the wheels of that car rather than letting others to drive your own car, because it is your life. Yes, with Mars running into Saturn, we're going to run into obstacles as well. That's what exactly says. But if you have got the strength, you are able to overcome those obstacles. Remember that the 12th house is the house of self-sabotage. So we are our own worst enemy, and we are the only ones that can tackle those. And probably with Saturn, that is connected to your goals and work-related matters. So probably there is a need here to realize your own potentials as well. But you might need a bit of a spiritual guidance. I mean, Saturn rules the career department in your chart. So it's very possible that those challenges you're going to run into is connected to your career. Maybe you cannot see your own potentials. And also you have got Mercury retrograde there too. So yes, sometimes Mercury retrograde asks us to walk backwards a little bit. You might not be able to see your own path clearly, or you might not be able to see yourself in a leadership position. And also it might be telling you to revisit the past so that eventually you can walk towards the future, an unresolved problem that could be coming back. And now you're going to have to put a full stop to it. Why is that? Because Mercury is also pretty tightly conjuncting actually this lunar eclipse. It's on solar eclipse. This is on 24 degree, and the eclipse is happening on 19 degree. So to summarize, this is about making a strong statement about yourself, working on your self-esteem. It's about personal growth. Yes, probably you didn't have the right self-confidence in the past, and therefore you could not succeed. Maybe it's about displaying a more powerful image. Maybe it's about acknowledging your own strength. And also acknowledging your own weaknesses as well, because we all lack in something. And when we are aware of our limitations, then we can start working on those. And then eventually, you will be able to turn those into a strength as well. Now, because Saturn rules your 10th house, it's surely about somehow working towards promotions, or you want to change your status. Maybe it's through engagements, maybe it's through marriage, maybe it's just accomplishing something overall. So you're going to have to warm up a little bit to these situations. Okay, let's have a look at how Taurus is affected by this solar eclipse. So if you have got Taurus sun or Taurus rising sign, then this segment of the video is for you. And if you would like to get more of these videos, you might want to consider joining my YouTube membership program, where you are going to be receiving 10 additional videos a month that might be helping you to guide your life through astrology. Now, this constellation is going to be happening in your 12th house, which is the house of hidden enemies, fears, addictions, spirituality, dreams, other dimensions, and karmic blockages. So there is the need here to heal your courage. There is the need here to find the inner courage within yourself so that you can move forward. That courage is within you, but it got blocked out somehow. Maybe it's blocked out by your ancestry line. Maybe you have inherited certain type of problems that you think that you cannot overcome, and that is holding you back. It is sometimes it is about cutting out some of these ancestry problems, handing it back to them so that you can start your personal healing, your personal growth, pretty much. But in order for us to do that, we need to get out of our comfort zone as well. Why do we think that it's connected to your family? It's because the sun rules your 4th house. So often that's about your family and the family, how they put limitations on us. The moon rules your 3rd house, which is very much about communication. So you might need to be able to communicate with your family about all the hurtful moments that you experience. Maybe you want to get acknowledged by them that you have been trying really hard. You might not have got there yet, but I'm working on it, and no one can take that away from me. This is about starting a new life. And yes, so healing family karma. But maybe you have been repeating the same patterns just like your family did. And then in that case, we need to recognize that as well. You might need someone who is going to guide you through all this and maybe giving you a little bit of a step-by-step guide of how to do that. So you might be going for a family constellation therapy, or you might do a karmic reading with someone, or even it could talk to you about having a psychologist you can talk to. It's about understanding the past so that you can build a better future. Often we just need to be listening to our inner guides, because we've got dreams. And then when we interpret those dreams in an appropriate way, then we get those messages. And this time, this eclipse can bring you very powerful dreams and messages. The question is, are you going to understand? And it's all going to be connected to your self-empowerment. This is asking you to get spiritually stronger. It's kind of like the constellation of spiritual muscles. And we need those spiritual muscles because when we are able to overcome something emotionally, physically, it becomes easier as well. Also, this could ask you to change some of your habits, for example. So do we have the tendency to cry over something? Or do we have the tendency to say that, you know what, enough of this crying, and let's move forward? I mean, Mercury is retrograde as well. So you might not see your karmic journey clearly just yet. You might be afraid of speaking up about how much your family have hurt you, but you need to say it out loud. Communication helps us heal. Mercury is back and forth on your Chiron. So it's about healing some of the communicational channels for you, seeing the patterns that every family member is doing the same, or seeing the patterns that actually the family is causing these issues. Now, the dispositor of this eclipse is Mars, which is about to run into Saturn. Now, I am going to be posting a separate video about that, a general forecast. And on the YouTube membership program, I'm going to be breaking this down for the 12 signs as well. But the dispositor is in your 11th house, which is connected to your goals. You should be ready to work hard on your long-term goals because you want to be successful. You need to see your own blockages clearly because we run into challenges when Saturn is participating in something. But when we are strong, we are able to overcome them. It is asking us to release some of our fears or to accept them and then put them on a stage, embracing them that way. Maybe in the past you have been rejected by a friend of yours, maybe by a community, but this is telling you that this is not the end of the world. I can belong to a better group of people as well. It might be releasing actually your work environment. You might feel that this is not supporting your goals anymore, that sisterhood and brotherhood somehow got broken there, and it's time to belong to a new group. And also, it's very possible that you might have had some health issues and that holding you back, or you have had, or you are having a lot of obligation, and this is the reason why you got stuck and then you are not ready to move forward. No, Uranus has been trying to get you out of your comfort zone and wanting you to start fresh pretty much. Now, when we have got a solar eclipse happening in the 12th house, that brings a lot of psychological and spiritual matters into your life. Often it comes with a wake-up call. It is something that we feel at the pit of our stomach. It sometimes makes it kind of like, you know, like the butterflies are running around in our stomach. And it makes us feel a little bit uneasy. Sometimes kind of like we have got that knot in the stomach and we don't know how to deal with that. Often actually we want to blow up, but we are scared to blow up. Somehow the subconscious mind is actually turning up and down and we don't know what it means. So you're going to have to do a little bit of a research. You're going to have to get into a balance somehow to balance out your spiritual core. Maybe it is asking you to have a bit more sleep or a little bit more quality rest as well. And that's a very good one to do around eclipses. Ancient people used to believe that you shouldn't be doing things around eclipses because the sun or the moon have been eaten away. This is about, but it's not about hiding in the shadow though. It is about just a little bit of a rest, gathering your strength. So I'm ready to start again. Okay, what happens if you have got Gemini Sun or Gemini Rising sign? So this is going to be taking place in your 11th house. And if you would like to get very similar videos and breakdowns, then you might want to consider joining my YouTube membership program because I will be adding 10 additional videos on your profile each month, which might be helping you to guide your life through astrology. But when the solar eclipse happens in your 11th house, it is probably connected to your career. So what career would you like to do? Would you like to build a community? Would you like to work online? I mean, the sun rules your 3rd house and the eclipse happens in your 11th. So these are the community houses. So building a community, being part of a tribe, being around like-minded people could become very important. If you've got an online business, this is telling you to look at how you manage that. Am I sending out newsletters? Do I want to put together a course, for example? Do I want to teach others? Or do I need to show more consistency when it comes to creating those videos? It is also connected to your finances because Moon rules the 2nd house here. So money can make you feel safer. And then when you don't have that money, you are out of your comfort zone, of course. And then you might want to push to get a little bit more. But this is the house of confidence as well. So this is telling you to be more confident, more courageous about putting yourself out there and becoming more available. Let's say you are a tarot reader or a astrologer, but you have been struggling with self-esteem issues because you think that you are not that good. And this is telling you that the feedback might be completely different from people because you are only going to be meeting people that need you and then you are ready for. This is about the desire to want to make more money. Maybe, as I said, it's time to consider some type of online business, or you need a better support system in your life, better friends, or people who support your goal, or people who actually tell you that you have got the capability and let your fears not take over in a way. And of course, there are people who will tell you that, oh, this is not a good idea and so forth. But if you strongly feel about it, cut those people out of your life. This is a eclipse that is telling you to push yourself harder. Try a different path, especially if that money signature hasn't happened yet in your life, because that's going to be making you emotionally more comfortable. Maybe you have had a stage fright. Maybe you are afraid of being rejected, or maybe you are afraid that you are not good enough. Believe me, you're gonna get empowered by a lot of love, but don't just focus on one or two critical minds because we're always gonna run into those type of people as well. You might belong to groups or you have had friends that tell you that you need to do this or you should not do that. This is asking you to follow your gut feelings. Now, the dispositor Mars is about to run into Saturn, and it's going to be happening in your 10th house. Now, I am going to be posting a separate video, a general forecast about Mars-Saturn conjunction, which is about to start a new cycle. And I'm going to be breaking that down for my YouTube members too, for the 12 signs, but it's happening in your 10th house, which is possibly running into some obstacles at work. You might feel a little bit burned out by the work you have been doing, and that is forcing you to change. That is forcing you to make a change, a significant change in your life. It could give you the desire to actually start completely fresh, a new career path you have never done before. And because you've got Mercury there as well, retrograde on 24 degree. Now, it's very possible that you have been told something at workplace that was hurtful. And you might have been thinking about going back to a previous job because that was better. You might have had the idea that the grass is greener somewhere else and you change job, but you regret your decisions now. This eclipse is really bringing in the group interests, your humanitarian attitude. This is about interaction with friends and like-minded people, or even getting in touch with professional organizations. It's group activities that is pretty much bringing up for you. It is about making somehow your life better by creating better conditions in your life. This is probably showing a little bit of a concern about what is going on in the world as well, politically, economically, and so forth. You might feel sorry for people struggling with poverty, for example, and so forth, and you want to help somehow. And you might be a little bit more concerned about the political situations, or you want to get involved in political fields as well somehow. Okay, let's move on. What happens if it's a Cancer rising sign? First of all, it is very important for you because the eclipses are always affecting Cancers and Leos. Now, this eclipse is going to be happening in your 10th house, which is the house of visibility. So how do you want to show up in the world? Do you want to be seen as a professional mom, for example, or a caring mom? Or Do people see all the efforts you make to make their lives easier, or that you try hard to be that great mom and so forth, but you might not get the validation from them? So this is about working on how you want to be seen by others. This is about career department as well. So probably it could talk to us about an inner struggle, whether I should go back to work or I should be taking care of my loved ones. And this eclipse is actually telling you to be courageous and say out loud that, yes, I would like to get back to work. I would like to work on my professional success. That is not giving me enough anymore just to take care of the needs of others. I want to be recognized for something as well. Remember that the 10th house is the house of building. So it's about building your identity or building a home or building a family. But we need to be making some adjustments. Maybe you have been dreaming about building your own family, but somehow due to work, you have always been held back because you've got too much responsibility. Maybe you are popular, maybe you have got, a company to run, and then you never thought that you could fit in a family life into that as well. Now, then in this case, this eclipse is asking you to realign your thoughts a little bit because we've got Mercury retrograde there as well. And maybe these are connected to some childhood traumas that you're going to have to work through because Mercury is meeting Chiron 3 times while it's retrograde. Now, Sun rules your second house, which is connected to your self-esteem as well as your money. So maybe it's about wanting to earn more money, maybe wanting to get a pay rise, or you just want to be working on your self-esteem so that you can stand up for yourself. I feel like this eclipse is really asking you to claim your spot in the world because you are entitled to be visible. You are entitled to be recognized. And people should see that you've got all the talents what you need. In order for you to succeed, you need to put yourself first. You need to be able to take a chance on yourself. Maybe that Mercury retrograde indicates that you are not able to see your path clearly at the moment. You don't know what your talents are. And in that case, you might want to be consulting with a professional person about as well. Maybe you are not able to see yourself as a mom, or you're not able to see yourself as a successful business person, or you just see yourself as a provider. And that's the reason why you put your needs behind. Therefore, you put the needs of other people ahead of you. Now, the dispositor is Mars, which is about to run into Saturn. So this could talk to you about wanting to relocate, for example, but it takes a little bit longer than expected. But also it can indicate that you want to study something so that you can do some betterment in your career position. You can enhance your career. And maybe imagine that you have got some exams coming up, and unfortunately, you might fail one of them, or you're going to have to revisit one of the subjects because you haven't mastered it yet. And that would be coming from the Mercury retrograde element. Maybe actually you need to overcome some of the fears about what your talents are. This eclipse is actually inviting you to dare to dream, to come up with a plan. You can be a mom and you can be a professional as well at the same time. And you don't need to be the best at all times. It's about being confident, be fierce, embrace your wounds, because the wounds, we need to be grateful to them because they are making us stronger. And also it can indicate that let others know about your pain and your own struggles, and get them involved as well in this situation. So when the eclipse happens in the 10th house, this is about being concerned about your ambitions, your status in the world. Opportunities could be coming, but you might be hesitating whether to take them or not. This is a little bit like improving your CV. What am I going to write on that CV? How am I going to sell myself? It could talk to you about wanting to get a promotion, a bonus, you want a transfer, or you want to get an annual award, for example, or you want to be praised by your bosses because your performance have been great. It might be about tapping into your leadership position as well. Maybe you're going to become a supervisor. Maybe you're going to have to build a team, for example. And because there is a project you've been working on. And yes, in that case, it could show that your family life is struggling because the responsibilities, what you've got, is getting stronger and stronger. Negatively speaking, it could even indicate that the health situation of your family members are weakening a little bit, and you're going to have to show up to them to help them out. What happens if it's for Leo Sun or Leo rising sign? So this is going to be taking place in your ninth house. Now, if you would like to get very similar breakdowns for your ascendant or sun sign, I recommend joining my YouTube membership program, where I'm going to be giving you additional about 10 videos a month for a little fee, and then you will be able to navigate your life through the stars. Now, what happens with this solar eclipse? First of all, you might have been thinking about seeing the world, but you didn't have the courage. You haven't had the courage yet. Maybe you haven't had the resources just yet. Maybe you need to change your mindset that I'm a queen or a king and I'm meant to be treated like that. Maybe you need to connect with the higher version of yourself. You need to learn more about who you are. What is the meaning of life means to you? It is about broadening your horizon, maybe taking some courses, self-empowerment courses. Maybe you need to learn a little bit more about your pain, not just sweeping them under the carpet, because we've got Chiron connected very tightly to this solar eclipse. That's why taking some type of self-empowerment workshops could be really helpful for you to highlight something in your life. So for example, I'm going to be making a course about the 12th house, which is the house of limitations. And I will try to help you to overcome your own limitations. Another course I'm doing in regards to that is your Lilith position. So you might want to consider that. But this is about selling yourself, becoming a teacher archetype, or being a student so that you can learn more about yourself. You can follow the path you have imagined yourself, but maybe you have imagined for yourself, but you might not be dreaming. You might not be brave enough. Let's say you have always wanted to become a car, racer, but I never tried it because I'm afraid of something, that it's not going to work out, it's not going to be able to pay the bills, and so forth. So this is asking you to become a little bit more daring. Surely you are sabotaging yourself because the moon rules the 12th house, and that's the house of self-sabotage. That is connected to fears, secret enemies. This is telling you that you are your own enemy. And listen to your gut feelings, listen to your intuition, because they are guiding you. But you're going to have to do a lot of shadow work here, surely, with Chiron being very close to this eclipse, as well as moon ruling the 12th house. We have got fears to overcome. I feel like these eclipses are going to be giving you very powerful messages, and it depends on you how you interpret them. I think this eclipse is asking you to a little bit more optimistic. Now, when you look at the dispositor, which is actually placed in the 8th house, Mars is about to run into Saturn. Again, this is telling you to dig deep to figure out who you are. In order for you to find a meaning to life, first of all, you're going to have to get to know yourself better. You're going to have to be dealing with some trauma or difficulties in your life. This is the house of crisis situations. You might feel like that your life is at the crossroad and then you're going to have to make a decision, or your life is somehow just stopped. So how are you going to ignite that? How are you going to recharge the battery, or how are you going to ignite that engine to have that sparkle so that I can move forward? And often we just need optimism to do that. This eclipse is telling you that you are entitled to have a dream, you are entitled to have a goal, you are entitled to be treated in a preferential way. This is about transforming your pain. into your own strength. This is asking you to let go of something. It is asking you to admit that you have been hurt and say it out loud, because Mercury retrograde is there as well nearby this eclipse. And this is about screaming our own pain on top of our lungs. And it's time to speak up about it. Also, this might be telling you to discount people's opinion about you. Be unapologetically yourself. Most likely, this eclipse is going to bring you some, your higher mind is about to be awakened. This is about seeking for answers. And those answers are going to be coming to you through dreams or gurus or teachers. Sometimes these are codes and hidden messages. And sometimes it's a little bit harder to interpret them. But if you meditate on them, then you're going to get those answers what you need. This is asking you to change your outlook on life, maybe religiously speaking, spiritually speaking, or just to change your moral codes somehow. I mean, even it could talk to you about enrolling in a university subject or study languages, or you might want to be spending time with people from different countries to broaden your horizon, to experience, to get to know different type of cultures. Okay, let's move on to Virgo rising sign. So this is going to be taking place in your 8th house, which is the house of transformation, crisis situations, connections on a deeper level. So this is asking you to be brave, to ask for more support from your partner, for example, on every single level. Intimate level, spiritual level, physical level, emotional support. Why is that? Because the dispositor is falling into the 7th house, that is Mars, and Mars is about to run into Saturn. Now, I have made a separate video about Saturn and Mars, and I'm going to be posting it in the upcoming days. And I will be breaking it down for the 12 signs as well. So if you are interested how that might be playing out in your life, I recommend joining my YouTube membership, and you will get additional 10 videos a month. So you might be dreaming about having a partner you can share the burden with. And you don't need to be the slave to a relationship anymore. It's asking you to work on that equality part of the relationship. I mean, remember that Sun rules your 12th house. So this is a karmic habit. This is a repeated pattern here. Maybe it is the way it has always been in your family. And then now it's time to be brave and give it back to that ancestry line and to start working on those matters. This is about financial holdings as well. So it might be, this eclipse might be asking you to look at your savings, your debts, your mortgages, or even your retirement fund as well, or the mutual income with your partner. And maybe you guys have agreed on something, but you feel like that the other party is actually not holding up on their own end. So then this eclipse is asking you to be brave, to talk about this, not just, I don't know, whining or, kind of like suffering from inside out, but making sure that you're gonna actually talk to your partner, business partner, other people, and so forth. Maybe someone is actually owing you money. But also this house can represent intimacy department as well. So maybe there is a need here to work on that spark between you and your partner as well. That is going to be allowing you to get closer, to have a stronger bond between the two of you. This is also, I mean, the lunar eclipse was really emphasizing your second sign, which was about your money. So most likely it's about how to protect money, how much we are meant to be, sharing our mutual funds with each other. And I'm also wondering that with Mercury being retrograde, for example, also here on 24-degree at the moment of the eclipse, this might be bringing in some signing of legal document like a prenuptial agreement, or you might go and get a bank statement, for example, and then review your finances, and then you see there were some extra expenditures on it that you are not aware of them, for example. So it is giving you an element of a wake-up call. This is telling you to look at your assets from both ends, and it is telling you to have a plan how to grow those assets, how to invest them into something, such as how to get a higher salary, for example. But also the eighth house is so much connected with the power of your imagination, psychic abilities. So those could be quite enhanced as well at the same time. So it would be about understanding why we function in certain ways. With the eighth house, we've got the ability to travel between two dimensions, a very deep dimension and a very superficial dimension as well. So which end are you at? Are you ready to go really deep to discover your wounds, maybe trauma, maybe abuse, so that you can talk it out, for example, with a therapist, because the dispositor is in the seventh house, and embracing those wounds and making them your own, making them your own, or you're going to be very superficial about it. You're going to just scratch the surface, and then you're not going to get anywhere with it. So this is a reminder for you to go as deep as possible and work through the pains. Libra, rising sign or sun. So this segment of the video is going to be for you. Now, this is going to be taking place in your seventh house. And you've had two eclipses happening, right? You had the lunar eclipse, which is happened in your first house, and then you've got the solar eclipse that is happening in your first house. Seventh house. So surely this is going to be very important for you. Now, we had the lunar eclipse on the 25th of March, and I recommend listening back to that forecast, because this was very much about empowering you, highlighting relationships in your life. And then now we've got this solar eclipse as well that is going to be highlighting your intimate relationships and partnerships with others. It is asking you to look at who you are surrounded by. It is asking you to look at whether you are in a happy relationship with others, whether that relationship you are in gives you some element of fulfillment. If you are single, this is highlighting the opportunity to meet someone new, to get married, to get engaged, or even to be responsible enough to decide that, you know what, I want to become a mom, or I want to become a father. This is somehow taking your relationship to the next level. But the lunar eclipse asks you to look at the way you approach relationship topics, because something that you have been doing and hasn't worked for you, because it was a south node eclipse, right? So you had to let go of certain type of expectations. You had to let go of certain type of dreams about how the person should look like. And probably with an Aries descendant, you know what, you want a sporty person, for example, or you want someone who pioneers or motivates you and so forth. Often there is that kind of, not necessarily a perfect image, what you are looking for, but it is telling you to be ready to work for that relationship in order for you to succeed. Now, of course, it's not just about relationships, but it brings in the topic of cooperations with others, working together with a therapist, for example, or making certain type of agreements. So there is also the need to embrace here your authentic self. This is asking you to embrace your, not just to become agreeable, because the Libra rising sign does that often, but to step into your own power and stand up for your own rights. So if you feel like that the relationship is suffering because you have been compromising a lot, then the Mercury retrograde also around your descendant asking you to speak up about it. Also, if you look at the dispositor, which is Mars, is about to run into Saturn. So it could represent, for example, impatience. And Saturn is telling you that you have to overcome some of your bad habits, because it is placed in the sixth house. You have to overcome some of your bad habits. You're going to have to look into the mirror also, not just putting the blame on someone else. Or even if they did something wrong, then Pisces would be asking us to forgive them about it. Because we are humans and we all make mistakes. And these are some of the major topics that this lunar eclipse actually brings into the picture for you. But on top of that, this is also asking you to be creating some opportunities for yourself, to look at the wounds, what you have received in previous relationships. And most likely it all starts with the way you were raised. Why is that? Because the sun actually rules your 11th house, which is very much connected to the childhood experiences. The 5th and the 11th house axis is always about your childhood experiences. And maybe this is about not trying to find the person at the right field. So maybe you are considering to sign up for a dating website, or maybe it's just asking you to get out of your comfort zone, to become more visible, to be a little bit more social, and then all of a sudden the right person is going to be popping into your life. It might be also asking you to look at such things as working with others. And on top of that, I would like to mention that Moon rules your 10th house as well. So this could really talk to you about opportunities that are going to be coming up for you in the next 18 months to be able to work with others, to collaborate with others. But there is this need somehow to compromise your needs. So if you have got high standards, we need to not necessarily let them go. We just need to alter them a little bit. Also, this might be a situation where you feel like others have been calling the shots. And then in that case, this eclipse is asking you to tap into your own power and call the shots as well. This is about being straightforward. This is about being direct about what I want, how I want things to be done, because you have been giving up the self for a very long time. And that's why you need to be kind of like rolling up the sleeves and then getting dirty and getting into a conflict if needed. So that's where the cooperation comes into the picture. Cooperation only works when two people are listening to each other. Also, I feel like that if you have been in an emotionally empty relationships and you have been going through some type of disappointments all the time, then it is telling you to explore the reasons. Look at why the relationships have been struggling. It is asking you with that Chiron to restore somehow the basics of the relationship, why we got together at the first place, why we are drifting apart, and then how we can get closer. I mean, some of you might be experiencing a new relationship. Some of you might be experiencing a divorce as well. If you feel like that this relationship is not serving your needs or it's not serving your higher purpose anymore. And that would be because Mars is placed in the 6th house in Pisces and it is ready to run into Saturn. So it looks like you're going to run into some relationship challenges. But if we want to work on it and if we want to crystallize the relationship, then it's just all about gathering your strength, working it out, and then it's not going to fall apart. Now, obviously, as I said, the moon rules your career aspiration as well. So it might be an indication that you and your partner have got different goals in mind, or the way we operate on a daily basis, it's a little bit different and we don't see things eye to eye. And that's why we can have certain type of arguments, for example, in the relationship. Remember, we've got a very strong Aries energy at the moment, which could represent that we are headstrong. And often with Mercury retrograde, we don't see the relationship clearly. We don't see ourselves clearly either. So therefore, sometimes we just need someone who is neutral and then going to be able to give us the right piece of advice, for example. And that could be also a very smart decision to do. So you might want to be going for a relationship therapy, for example. So, surely this eclipse is asking you to interact. and to be human about it. Often it comes with an element of incompleteness, but it encourages us to be unapologetically ourselves. It is asking us to restore somehow the balance between me and the partner, to work on equality. So therefore, we need to work on the self-esteem. We need to see whether that relationship is meaningful somehow. Whether it's business partnership or a marital partnership, it doesn't matter. But equality is a major factor if we want the relationship to get stronger. And I feel like that Saturn is asking us to solidify something here. The Piscean element is asking us to be satisfied somehow. But often the problem is that the standards are way too high. So I feel like this is asking us to revisit our standards a little bit. So a lot of the topics here is about restoring harmony and balance so that you can grow emotionally and physically as well. And you're gonna have to be able to see your self-worth being enhanced by yourself, but your self-worth is only going to be enhanced if you also work on that as well. Great. What about if you have got Scorpio rising sign? So dear Scorpio, this is going to be taking place in your sixth house, which is the house of health, daily routines, but also it can be connected to work environment as well. So this solar eclipse, on one hand, remember that solar eclipses are weakening the body. So here, I feel like you're going to have to be in the driving seat of your own health. You're going to have to drive a better lifestyle. And sometimes it is about cutting out certain bad habits from our lives. Sometimes this is actually telling us to go back to do some sport, to get some physical strength, because remember that the 6th and the 12th house are polarities to each other. So the 6th house talks to you about physical strength, while the 12th house talks to you about emotional strength. And working on both, this is what the eclipses have been triggering for you. Working on both the emotional and the physical strength, you can conquer anything. So it's asking you to revisit your state of your health or the health of others around you as well. Maybe you are prompted here to ask for a medical advice from someone. Maybe it's going to be, let's say you have been struggling with some type of headaches, and there is a reason for that. So this is asking you to look at where the problem originates from. Remember, we've got Mercury retrograde there as well. So it is very possible you've had a lot of things going on your mind, and then it kind of causes you some type of headache. But also it might be looking at whether you are in a healthy work environment, whether the colleagues are getting on your nerves or you have got too much responsibilities and obligations. And maybe what you notice at the workplace is that everything is chaotic, disorganized, and unfortunately, this empower you. And then it makes your job harder, or you are meant to be delivering a deadline, but because of all the chaos you have to take care of, unfortunately, you miss the deadline. And then you feel like you are getting blamed for this. And of course, what it can do is that it can make your mental state weakened as well, and you feel strained at the workplace. And this might be leading to a potential job change, for example, or even clashes, arguments with work colleagues who are not pulling their weight. Maybe it's about you raising your voice about all the chaotic conditions at work that have been going on for a very long time, and you feel like that nothing is changing. So to summarize on this, it's very possible that you have got concerns about your health, maybe your digestion, maybe you want to be on a diet. It could talk to you about just being a little bit more organized at your workplace, maybe taking notes, having a schedule that you are going to be following. But you also might want to actually tidy up your home a little bit, making space for something new to enter. Also, it's about creating or changing certain habits that you have got. So this is asking you to look into the mirror and then look at your habits, whether they are in service to your needs or not. Maybe you are considering to have a pet. Maybe you consider to change your workplace. Maybe actually a new employee, you are hiring someone, or new co-workers are coming to the company where you are. And then you feel a little bit unsafe because of that. Now, remember that the dispositor of this constellation is Mars, and Mars is about to run into Saturn. So, and it's going to be happening in your fifth house. So, how I can imagine is that you run into some challenges, for example, with your kids at work. With your kids at school, and therefore you need a time off, for example, from work, and that they don't want to honor that, or they think that you come up with some type of excuses. But also this could be showing some issues, for example, that you feel like that you cannot embrace or you cannot express yourself at the workplace, because you feel like they are expecting you to be this yes sir type of person, and then you are getting tired of that, and then this eclipse is asking you to speak up about it. Also, this is possible that your life is going to be changing because you are planning to build your own family. Therefore, you need to be changing your routines because obviously a new baby is coming around. It might be just a pet, and you know that there's going to be a stricter schedule for you because you're going to have to walk that pet, and then you're going to have to rearrange your life around that too. Please watch out for your medical conditions this time around, because Mars is also the ruler of your first house. So the body is really emphasized here. So sometimes it's very much about not working too hard, even though an Aries cusp has got the tendency to work extremely hard. And this is asking you now to take a bit of a rest as well, to recharge your batteries, to focus on your mental well-being as well, and maybe have a discussion with some of the co-workers that you have been doing all this over time, and then now you're going to have to focus a little bit more on yourself as well. Also it's about how motivated you feel at the workplace, whether they honor your accomplishment, they reward you, and so on. Okay, let's move on. What happens if you have got Sagittarius rising sign? Well, this is going to be taking place in your fifth house. And the fifth house is about connecting with your inner child. This is the house of fun, taking a chance on yourself. Also, this would be connected to children and hobbies and even self-employment as well. And the natural ruler of this house is actually the sun. So this is asking you to be courageous about being creative, to be passionate, to be optimistic about something, even to be initiating, for example, a new love life if you are single. This is about getting pregnant. This is about being ready to embrace that inner child. But Chiron is there too. So in order for you to do that, to tap into that creative self-expression, you're going to have to work through some childhood trauma. You're going to have to work through, for example, the first love experiences you had, because those are the ones that might be holding you back. This is about attending some type of entertainment facilities, having fun, so that you can bump into someone you have been looking for. Maybe it's an invitation to get somehow closer to your parents as well. Why is that? Because the dispositor of this eclipse is Mars, which is falling into your fourth house. And we have been running into some challenges in the home environment. Maybe we've been trying to get pregnant and then it hasn't worked out yet. In that case, Mars needs to learn from Saturn to be a little bit more patient. Maybe this is talking to us about an unfortunate situation, arguments within the family, because you want to be talking about your childhood experiences, but they might not want to listen. They might want to just say no to it. No, it hasn't happened. No, you don't see it clearly. So this Mercury retrograde might be asking you to step up a little bit your game, to be a little bit louder, to reinforce that you need to be listened to, and you've got the right to be listened to because your pain is your pain and you are ready to be embracing that. This is asking you to come up with some creative problem solution skills. So if there is a problem, you're going to have to tackle them in a creative way. Or even it could talk to you about working on an important project. And then maybe Mercury retrograde is about revisiting the project you have been working on. Maybe it's not about immediately launching it. Maybe we need to be tweaking certain bits and bobs on it. Let's say we're going to have to run through the program, whether it does exactly what we wanted. And then this future project could bring you some possibility to become self-employed, for example. Maybe it's about activities with your children. So if you've got children, then what can we do to have fun? Maybe you've been working extremely hard. Obviously, Mars is about to run into Saturn. So Mars might be receiving some type of new career challenges or career goals, and then it's ready to work for. But it's so important that sometimes you schedule a little bit of a downtime as well for yourself. But I think the most important message is that you have to work through some inner childhood traumas, and you're going to have to be dealing with them so that you can be happy and you can move on with your life. Remember that the moon rules your 8th house and the sun rules your 9th house. So again, with the sun ruling the 9th house, it's about adrenaline, adventure, the meaning to life. It is asking you to do meaningful things. But it looks like with the moon ruling the 8th house, you haven't done that because you were afraid to do so. Some of you might become a grandparent, for example. That's really possible with this as well. And that's going to be awakening your inner child. So I like when an eclipse is happening, by the way, in the 5th house, because it's about taking a chance on yourself, taking a risk, expressing oneself creatively and affectionately as well. This is about the soul essence of your life. This is about doing something that brings you joy. This is about doing activities, for example, with your loved ones, kids, as well as your boyfriend and girlfriend, that brings a lot of excitement into the relationship. So it goes through an element of a renewal. And maybe we're going to have to do that on an intimacy level, for example. It is also asking us to create stronger bonds with children so that we can go. But most importantly, it is how to grow your ego. So let's move on. What happens if this eclipse is for Capricorn rising sign or Capricorn sun sign? You can listen to both of them. Actually, this eclipse is going to be taking place in your 4th house, which is the house of family. And when the eclipse is happening in your 4th house, the domestic scene or the domestic situations in your life is going to be quite domineering. So it brings forward your life in your own home, in your family. Maybe you want to be relocating. Maybe you are about to choose a home environment. Maybe actually you want to be relocating and you haven't had the courage yet. And then now you are collecting all your bravery to make that move. Maybe you have been living together with someone and then you want to grow up a little bit. I mean, Aries cusp usually is about the hero's journey. You know what? I want to fly out of the family nest and I want to go for something. Maybe actually you've got a roommate or a flatmate and they have been untidy and then you want to somehow cut them out and you need the courage to let them know that you want to live on your own now. This is telling you that there is a need here to pay attention to your household a little bit more. We can do a bit of a spring clean here. Maybe you want to be reviewing the safety and the security system in your home, or you want to make some certain type of improvements. So rearranging things and so forth. And you might want to be focusing a little bit more on a major reconstruction of your home environment. The major element comes from the fact that the dispositor Mars is about to run into Saturn. And Saturn is a slow progress planet. Often, actually, it indicates that the work is bigger as well, because it's about reconstruction somehow. Also, this could talk to you about, I mean, if you think about that, the lunar eclipse took place in your 10th house, which was very much about a lot of concern about your work and life balance, as well as maybe we were a little bit focusing a lot more on work than family. And this eclipse is bringing in that I am meant to be focusing a little bit more on my own emotional satisfaction as well. What gives you security? That could be one of the questions that pops up here. Does it make you feel secure if you have got a stable position, or does it make you feel secure to have a home that you can have kind of like a sanctuary and you can lay your head on a pillow? This is also a very secretive house as well. So this, with Chiron being there, this might be telling you to work through some family patterns here. Maybe a secret from the family is gonna come to light somehow that will need to be addressed. Unfortunately, this might be frustrating, or it even stirs some anger up within you. And this is telling you to count to 10. And this is a pain that is hurting you, but it's going to take you forward. It's better to see things clear rather than being in the limbo. And that would be coming from Mercury retrograde. Often with Mercury retrograde, it's a piece of information that we receive from the family that we're going to have to work through. It's disturbing, it's making you feel unsettled and uneasy somehow, but just give yourself the time to process this piece of information. Also, this could be talking to you about situations such as you're going to have to be just relocating for a couple of weeks, for example, while some major works are happening. Probably it could be coming out of the blue, like a pipe is bursting and so forth, because it's an Aries type of energy. Usually it's a quick fix. Also, this is about working on your privacy as well. And the worst case scenario is that you're going to have to be spending a little bit more time at home with your family, because unfortunately, a parent of yours who could have some health issues as well. Solar eclipses tend to be making the body a little bit weaker. Maybe it would even talk to you about that some exciting or stimulating connections from the past popping back into your life. So maybe someone who used to visit a family, a home, or maybe it's even a first love. The reason why I would like to mention that is because the moon rules your 7th house, which is about love stories. So it could really talk to you about someone knocking on your door, a previous love story, or even a new one somehow. Somehow something is going down in your life, which is going to make you feel emotionally unsettled. And it really feels like that you are going to be at a crossroad where you're going to have to be brave and to make a decision and to look at your own needs rather than placing others first. But with Chiron there, it is a reminder that your fears can hold you back. The dispositor of this constellation is Mars, which is about to run into Saturn. So in the 3rd sign. So this is talking to us about some type of communicational blockages, for example, with the family. We might not be able to communicate clearly. You might feel that someone is lying to you in the family, or there might be something that you want to talk about, but they keep saying no to you. And then it leaves you emotionally unsettled. This is telling you to clear out the old and then welcome the new energies into your home. So that's why sometimes we need to be doing a little bit of a spring clean to make space for something new to enter. And this might be about talks about wanting to have a child and so forth. It can make you a professional caretaker as well. It's about nourishing others, nurturing others, cooking. So maybe you want to be building some new cooking habits, for example, and then you decide that, you know what, I'm going to be cooking at home, no more takeaways and so forth. So that's a possibility as well for you. Okay, let's move on. What if you have got Aquarius rising sign or Aquarius sun sign? You can be listening to both of them because this is a solar eclipse, and the solar eclipses are sun-related energies. So this is going to be taking place in your third house, which is the house of communication. So that gets highlighted for you. So, for example, it is about how you express yourself verbally, such as, am I a teacher, or am I an instructor, or maybe you have to be developing a work manual, for example, or you are a writer. It looks like you are using your mental capacity quite a lot. It is about somehow stretching your mind. Maybe you have been a little bit narrow-minded with Chiron there, and you have been narrow-minded because you were afraid of being rejected, and that's why you didn't come up with these authentic ideas. But this Mercury retrograde is also telling you to tweak on those ideas and then express them loudly. Stretch your mind, open up your horizon. And even it can tell you to take a class, for example, because that will empower you to have the right knowledge so that you are more daring, for example, to open an online business that you might have been dreaming about for a while. Yes, some of you gonna have to have a uncomfortable conversation. Maybe it comes through a debate. Maybe it comes through, you know, some type of trauma or an uncomfortable conversation about the past that you haven't shared with anyone yet. And now you feel like it's time to talk about that pain because it's been bugging you, and then you are ready to release that. This is, for example, can be an indication of a concern with a car, a computer. Maybe it's an unexpected breakdown of your car or a phone, and you're going to have to spend money on that. The reason why is because the dispositor is in your second house, and it's about to run into Saturn, the planet of challenges, the planet of breakdowns. So it's very possible that something is too old and then you're going to have to replace that. And then it causes you some interruptions to your daily routines, though. Because let's say it's your laptop and you are unable to work on your laptop, and then you're going to have to rush and to get a new one. But that laptop is a lot more expensive than you want it to. And unfortunately, you're going to have to spend a little bit more time on it. Also, this could be highlighting the topics of siblings. So an uneasy conversation with a sibling, or a trauma, something that a sibling told you before, or maybe it's an uncomfortable conversation, you lending money to your siblings, but they still haven't given it back to you. And unfortunately, you want to raise your concern about that too. And then if that's the case, then this solar eclipse is actually asking you to be courageous about it, to be actually, yeah, doing that. Also, this is about your personal or intellectual needs. So do you feel intellectually stimulated by the people you are surrounded by, whether it's partnership, friends, or siblings? This is about feeling satisfied somehow. And that satisfaction might be coming through learning or teaching others. Maybe it's about creating some professional settings or a professional arena for your teachings. This is about the articulation of your ideas. It's about coming across knowledgeable in certain type of conversations, for example. And the Mercury retrograde would be asking you to relook at your material, for example. Whether are there spelling mistakes in it, or the material I put together makes sense somehow, or they are cohesive enough. And then if yes, it's going to get rewarded. eventually. Also, this could talk to you about such things as being part of a local community, for example. I mean, this is probably somehow money is going to be on your mind. So this is very possible that you are thinking about selling a car, for example, purchasing a new one, or just money being on your mind by, how can I make a better living? Because you have been not making enough. You have been running into challenges, especially since Saturn has gone um, into your second house, and you've been tired of that. So now this would be talking to you about, yes, let's figure it out. I also feel like that this is about expanding beyond the familiar. It's kind of like being between four walls. Your mind is between four walls, and then you are meant to be actually breaking out of that, seeing the world in different ways, changing your belief system, looking at the level of your education, looking at your knowledge a little bit more, being curious about new possibilities, new information, looking at how you sell your identity badge as well. So, of course, the third and the ninth house is the axis of learning and expansion somehow. How do you see the world around yourself? I mean, this eclipse might be telling you to be surprised somehow, because it will shake up your mental state, surely. And often it comes with a lot of worries. Often it's about thinking who you are. Often it's changing your perceptions about and your worldview about yourself, about other people, or about certain type of topics that is present in your life at that moment. This is asking you to work on communicating more effectively and clearly as well, which is not necessarily easy this time around because Mercury being retrograde as well. So further your education. This is going to be one of the topics here. This is about expanding your mind. Take a class, teach, educate your mind somehow, change your belief systems. It's about the interpretation and misinterpretation of what people are telling you and what you tell other people as well. Let's suppose that you have always wanted to visit a Thailand, for example, and then you have been having all these conversations about it. And then all of a sudden we've got this opportunity to do so. And then we are not courageous enough because, oh yeah, but we don't have the money, right? Mars and Saturn in the second house. Oh, this is too expensive. We start coming up with these excuses. Now the Aries cusp is telling you, take a risk on yourself. Be adventurous about it. We can say no to it, but if we keep saying no to something, then why do we expect that the universe is going to give us the opportunity in the future? Also, imagine another situation, because the second house is earning, right? And you have been working on a project. Maybe you have been learning about something for a while. And then this eclipse is telling you to be courageous and become the teacher instead. So let's say you have been studying astrology for a decade, but you have never done it professionally. Maybe you show up for some certain type of interviews. Maybe you have got the courage to do so. Maybe you don't have the courage to even sign up for an interview. But then with that Saturn and Mars combo in the second house, you are crying, not being able to make enough money. So this is telling you to work on your self-esteem a little bit. Be daring about to get this happen, because you can do it now. This is about also furthering your education. So you might need additional toolkits, for example, and then you can accomplish a better financial situation. Just going to have to have your head right. Okay, and last but not least, Pisces rising sign. So this is going to be happening in your second house, which is the house of finances, and the dispositor is going to be in your first house. So when you have got a solar eclipse happening in your second house, this is all about looking at your spending habit, looking at the source of income, and also looking at your possessions as well. Often we need to be courageous to ask for the right price, for example. Imagine that you have been trying to sell an item, but you feel like it's very cheap, but you still do so because you feel like it's going to go quicker. But then the buyer is not coming around, for example, because why is it so cheap? So it becomes somehow suspicious. So this is telling you that you have been stuck doing certain things in a certain way, and you're going to have to initiate new methods. Maybe it's connected to your finances, maybe it's connected to your food intake, maybe it's about working through some of your own illusions as well. But you need to be more courageous. You need to build on your self-esteem this time around. And Chiron might be telling you to look at what is so scary in that world that that is holding you back to get there. So it's working through insecurities. It's examining the deeper questions or the deeper reasons for you being maybe immaterial or maybe too material somehow, or where is that lack of confidence originates from? Maybe it is a situation where you have had issues with your spending habits. Maybe you have been holding on to things because you have got emotional connections to them, and this eclipse is coming to shake you up a little bit, and therefore some of your possessions could break down, for example. This is about feeling confident about yourself. How are you managing your resources? How are you managing your finances? Do you believe in yourself that you have got all the ability to make a better living, for example? Or do you allow Chiron, your fears, to take over your life? So there is a need here, because the second house in ancient astrology is called as the house of Hades, the gate to the Hades. So it is also telling you to go extremely deep and to discover some of those uncomfortable feelings that are holding you back. It's not enough to go very superficial here. This is about taking a leap of faith, being courageous about making those changes in your life. This is somehow bringing in your skill sets, or discovering some of your new skill sets, using your new skill sets. It's a little bit of a renewal of how you earn money, even your professional settings as well, and how you support yourself financially. So imagine that, for example, what happens is, I'm just going to give you an example. Okay, imagine that you have been spending a lot of money on your body. The reason why I mentioned that is because the dispositor Mars is in the first house. And maybe actually you feel sorry for spending all those money on yourself because money has been tight for you, but you also want to be feeling better about your self-esteem. And one of the ways how it might play out is that you want to be going on a diet, for example, you want to go to a sport camp and all these type of things. And you start questioning whether you did the right course of action or not. And it can come with some type of regret, especially with Mars and Saturn in the second house. I mean, Mars is about to run into Saturn. So this might be an indication that you are going to be running into some financial challenges, unfortunately. And it makes you vulnerable. And then you are thinking about, okay, shall I sell my personal items, for example, and so forth. And maybe you have been isolating yourself as well because you were not necessarily feeling too well in your own skin. Or it could even indicate that you are about to reconnect with an old love of yours. And maybe you guys are going to be having a little bit of an intimacy partner. But you might be feeling extremely terrible about that because you've got an existing partner or somehow it's going to be stirring up some old emotions within you. You may be falling for the person, maybe you have been hurt by this person, and then you feel like you should have rejected the person, but you haven't done that somehow. So then all of a sudden, how you resonate from a confidence point of view is that it goes underneath. And then think about it as there was an unfinished business there with that Mercury retrograde, and we were meant to be finishing that off. Or maybe you feel like that you need to be increasing your prices, or maybe you feel like that you are not compensated for the work you do fairly. And then Mercury retrograde and this eclipse is asking you to speak up about it. You shouldn't be below the market, because it's just an indication that you are maybe desperate, or you think that people find you expensive and all those type of things, but you diminishing your own self-worth. So you're gonna have to review those type of topics, because you have invested into your own talent and gifts as well, and you have got the right, you are entitled to ask for the right amount of money for that. Or even it could bring you situations where you have been kind of like financially unstable, or you have been supported by others financially. And then now you are thinking about, okay, how can I actually make financial success in my life? How can I actually support myself rather than having to lean on others? Because remember, the South Node is in the sign of Libra in the 8th house. So this is about discovering your own talents, finding your own direction, starting a new project that you're going to build up slowly. Probably you're going to run into some challenges with that Mars and Saturn conjunction, but you're gonna get there. It's about becoming a long distance runner and to never give up on your dreams. So guys, this is my breakdown of the upcoming eclipse. I really hope this is helping you. And if it did, please press like, subscribe to the channel, as well as share the video with others, because you might be able to just give a hint of great advice to someone with this video that might change their life forever. Have a good one, everyone, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.